Hello, everybody. Today is Saturday, if I could say the word. Saturday, January 11, and Winnipeg time, it's 12:52 because that's where I'm situated in Winnipeg, Manitoba. So I am your instructor for ILP 100. My name is Kevin Young, and as promised, I'm doing this video for you to well, you give you a good sense of navigating the course. That's the purpose of today's presentation, Zoom presentation. So, couple things. Number one, you can reach out to me anytime. I check emails 7 days a week. Um, so reach out anytime if you have any questions, concerns, whatever it is. Just reach out. Okay. Number two, this is an asynchronous, not a synchronous course. So a synchronous course would be that we meet every Monday at 6 p.m. So when it's an asynchronous course, it means that we don't, there's no scheduled meetings. Okay, so you get to go through this course with your own freedom and independence, and you go at your pace. Now, of course, there are assignments and there are deadlines, and you have to stick to the deadlines. Um, but apart from that, you read on your own time. Okay, so it's not like we're meeting every week. We're not meeting at all. There are no scheduled meetings, no scheduled classes, which is one of the wonderful things about asynchronous courses is you kind of drive it yourself. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to share my screen, and here we are. This is the course homepage, ILP 100, Intro to Intercultural Leadership, and you can see it says it's an online course. Excellent. And we have, well, you know what? If I just show you the whole page, that's it. That's the whole page. And I do that intentionally. I don't like web pages that you have to scroll 10 by 10 by 10 by 10 pages. I like information to be found relatively quickly. And so what you see is the entire thing. We have a news forum in here where, I can throw in anything and so can you. So there's the little welcome to the course. And then, of course, my indication I'd be making a video. There's a social forum. And here you guys can chat about anything you want. Um, and you're free to do that. And just to let you know. And then, of course, the course email. Okay. We have this tab, Important Student Resources, which I'm sure you have in all of your courses. And then, as you can see, week one, week two, week three, week four, five, six, seven, eight, nine, 10, all the way to 13. When you click on one of these tiles, it opens up. We have class introductions where you can introduce yourself. I'll just click on that. You can see students have already done that. Fantastic. Love it. Thank you so much for introducing yourselves and again using the social forum. You're free to speak to other students. Um, and then of course there's the course outline or syllabus. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission's 94 calls to action, which is reading that should be completed, week or so. Folder called APA, which I'll get to, and then a grading rubric. So the of all, I mean, you should look at all of them, but the most important one of these five is the course outline, because the course outline tells you everything about the course, what the deadlines are, what the assignments are, and their associated deadlines. And so I'm going to click on, where's that line? And I'll open up a Word document here, and this is what it looks like. So I'll just make this a little bigger here. There we go. All right. So we've got winter 2025 online. My contact information at the top. There's no last week of 17 to 23. It doesn't really impact us because it's an asynchronous course. We have the required textbook called Our Shared Future, Windows into Canada's Reconciliation Journey. It is a required text, so you do need it. You can have it in paper format or electronic format. It's totally up to you. Um, we scroll down. Course objective is an introductory seminar examining leadership theory and skills required for future leaders to lead organizations and communities within a context of reconciliation. You will assess your attitudes, biases, beliefs, and current leadership skills. And at the very end of the course, you create a leadership portfolio. So it talks a little bit about the format. Let's see. We've got signed readings, uh, assignments. Well, that's really what it is. I mean, some activities, I guess, some surveys that need to be completed. And the required work is designed to help increase your understanding of leadership among Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples and the need for healing, equity, and respect for and of Indigenous cultures and values in Canadian society. And so, what it says next is just regarding the readings, activities, etc., due dates. All of that is found within the schedule. Is further down in this course outline. So we'll get to that in a second. Let's see here. The link is just to the course homepage. The learning objectives, you can see we have 5. Understanding key concepts and terms related to leadership in Western colonial and Indigenous settings. Review the history of policies limiting Indigenous leadership, including residential schools and their impact. Identifying key findings and importance of Canada's Truth and Reconciliation Commission report. Analyze and respond to leadership scenarios by applying key concepts related to leadership culture and reconciliation. And putting together a leadership portfolio. Reflects your individual achievements, your skills, and activities that have contributed to your leadership style. And then we've got a bunch of rules, which, every course has a course outline and should have very similar rules. What you can see highlighted would be the very, very important ingredients. I mean, you could read it all, but you definitely want to pay attention to the highlighted areas. So the first highlighted area talks about plagiarism and cheating. Um, don't do it. Right? It's not worth it if you get caught. And there's a process you have to go through. Um, and you may fail the course. You may not graduate. There are a whole bunch of negatives. So it's simply not worth it. Don't do it if you're ever thinking about something and you're not entirely sure whether you can do it, then you can reach out to me and ask, and then I can let you know whether it'd be okay or not. Let's see. Any use of an artificial tool in your academic work may result in academic misconduct and be reviewed. So it depends on how you're using it, if you're using it at all. So, is it safer not to use artificial intelligence? Yes, it is safer. If you do plan on using it, make sure that you're using it very, very carefully and, maybe even run it by me um, just to make sure because you don't want to be on the receiving end of a zero for an assignment that has detected the use of artificial intelligence and I have caught students before. It is an automatic zero, and that's through to the administration. So again, the next highlighted section is about deadlines. So the easiest thing that you could do is meet every line. Either submit the assignment by deadline or submit it on the day of the deadline. But if you submit it late, then every day that it is submitted late or every day past the deadline, you lose 10%. And while 10% may not sound like a lot, it adds up very quickly. And some academic institutions will give you a zero if you miss a deadline. So 10% deduction is actually really generous and a lot better than a zero. But that being said, it does add up quickly. And so if the deadline is a Monday, which I think all of the deadlines are, or almost all of the deadlines are in this course. If the deadline is a Monday and you submit on Friday, then Tuesday's a day late, Wednesday's a day late, Thursday's a day late, right? So that's minimum 30% to lose. Depending on when you submit on Friday, that might be another 10%. So you see how fast it adds up. Just don't miss deadlines. Um, and I don't make any exceptions, except any student with an accommodation letter that has been sent to me. Those students have to reach out to me and discuss deadlines and how we're going to make that work. And as long as those students have done that, they've had a discussion with me and we've agreed on what a revised deadline is going to be, then everything is fine. If a student has an accommodation letter and does not reach out to me, misses a deadline, and then reaches out to me afterwards, that is very complicated. And probably there will be no allowance, uh, no flexibility. So any student with a letter, accommodation letter, has to reach out to me before the deadline to discuss revising the deadline. If you are a student that does not have an accommodation letter, there are no exceptions. The deadlines are what they are. You have to meet them, or you get the 10% deducted every day. Okay, so I can't stress that enough. I've been teaching this course for a couple of years, and there are always students who reach out to me after the deadline who have not submitted their assignment, asking if there can be, no penalty. And the answer is no, you can't. So you have to meet the deadlines. Okay, so again, read everything, but the highlighted yellow is extremely important to pay attention. We have the writing resources, the writing center that can give you assistance. Um, so the contact information is included there. Um, we have information on students with special needs. And then we have the assessment grading. So this is really what you need to know. There are a total of 5 assignments. So there are 2 reflection papers, as you can see, each one worth 15% for a total of 30%. Then there is a reconciliation proposal worth 15%. There is a reconciliation plan worth 25%. And finally, there is a leadership portfolio, 30%. And there are little descriptions of each right here, the reflection papers, the proposal, the plan, and the portfolio. These are little descriptions. They don't give you all of the necessary instructions on what you need to be doing. That information is within the week. So when we go back to week 2, week 3 on those piles, that's where you will find that information. And I'll talk about that a little bit more when we reach the course schedule. So, reflection papers, there you go. Two of them, 30%. Personal takeaways, um, proposal, the plan, and then the leadership portfolio. And as you can see in big bold letters, you need to complete and submit every single one of these assignments. If you don't, if you miss at least one, your grade is not fixed. Don't have any flexibility on that. That is what it is. Okay. So of the five, you need to submit all five. If you miss one or more, you get no points. And before we hit the course schedule, there is this large paragraph here, highlighted in yellow, big black bold letters. This is what it says. In text, citations and references following the APA writing style are required for all assignments, right? You have 5 assignments. This is required for all 5. The course text is your primary source. In other words, our shared future, the text you need to purpose. The course text is your primary source for citations. Other readings and viewing materials will be the secondary sources of your citations. You're also free to use other sources outside the class materials to support your writing and your arguments. These will be in addition to the primary, secondary sources and not instead of. Now, if you don't know what APA is and you don't know what citations means and you don't know what references mean, it doesn't matter. Don't worry about it. Because when we go back into the course, we'll show you the tab that talks about APA and how that works. Okay. So now we move on to course schedule. So obviously, this is very important. So please pay very close attention to it. We have week 1, which is what we're currently in now. And you can see under unit readings what you're supposed to do. Take a look at the outline, the APA folder, etc. And on the right-hand column are the assessments or the assignments. Week 1, nothing. Week 2, nothing. Week 3, nothing. Week 4, it says there are some surveys, some leadership surveys that need to be completed. They are not handed in, not now. They're handed in at the end of the course when you submit your leadership portfolio. So while you do complete the surveys in week 4, you don't submit them. Okay. That means the very first assignment that you have to submit by a deadline is week 5. And it is this reflection paper, which is due February 3rd at 4 p.m. Okay. So just stepping back. I mean, that's good news. You don't have anything due until February 3rd, and we are January 11. You don't have anything due, but you still have one due. So the reading. In week 2, we have there's a video that you'll be watching. Our shared future, the textbook, the course, read 1 through 7. There's a honoring Indigenous women. And week 3, and so forth, and so forth, and so forth. So you take a look at these things, these required readings. You will find them in the tiles. Week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, back on the course homepage. So everything should be very, very straightforward. So we scroll down a little bit. Again, your very first assignment is due February 3. And what I would say at this point is don't wait until the last minute. I used to do that. It's not a good idea. Don't wait until the last minute. So, what you're expected to do is by the time we get to week 5 and you're supposed to submit your first reflection. By that time, you're supposed to have read all of these things, right? By the time we get to week 5, you should already be within in our future this textbook. You should already be very close to chapter 3. Okay. And you should have already read about Goldman's leadership styles and the 7 most common leadership styles. All these things you're supposed to have read before you hit February 3, because in your reflection, in the assignment, you're supposed to talk about the things that you have learned. And if you haven't read any of these things, then you're not going to have much to talk about. And obviously, you won't do well. Right? So we scroll down and you can see week 7, nothing, no assignments. Week 8, there is the reconciliation proposal, which is due March 3rd. So, in other words, your first assignment is due February 3rd. Your next assignment is due March 3rd. There's a month in between. And the downside, while on one hand it's great to have that amount of time in between assignments, the downside is that, some students will go, well, I got a month. I don't need to work on this. And then week 1 goes by, week 2, and suddenly, it's the night before, 2 nights before, and they're like, oh no, I'm panicking and I got to get this proposal done. So my strong, strong advice is start working on things well before night for the deadline, right? If you can start working even the week before it's due, then you won't get into that panic mode and you won't make a mistake, etc. Week 9, there's nothing due for assignments. Week 10, the reconciliation plan is due March 17. Week 12, the second reflection paper is due March 31st. And finally, week 13, your leadership portfolio is due April 19. Then that's it. The course is over. Okay. So that is the course schedule. These deadlines are extremely important for the same reasons that I mentioned earlier. You don't want to miss the deadlines, and you certainly don't want to forget about submitting an assignment because then you get a no pass. So, if you want to take those deadlines and put them into your Outlook calendar or make them on your wall or whatever you want to do so that you don't, because it does happen. Okay? So that is the course outline, the most important document to keep in mind. So I'm going to close that. And now we are back on the course homepage. And we click on week 1. We just finished looking at the course outline. This link here is Truth and Reconciliation. Calls to action. This is a pretty lengthy article because, of course, it lists all 94 calls to action. So you definitely want to read this. You need to read it because ultimately there are a couple of assignments that will be using information from these calls to action. Okay, so that's an article that you need to read. Here we have this APA, American Psychological Association. That's what it stands for. So if we click it, we wait for it to open. A little slow. And this is what it looks like. So in-text citations and references are required in the course. And we have 2 documents. We have an APA and 2-page sheet on information related to how to write APA. And then we have a sample APA paper. So I'm going to open up this APA cheat sheet kind of thing. And it gives you some information on APA. So when you're writing an APA, what do we got? 8.5 by 11. Yeah. That's in the digital world. Fine. Doesn't matter what size the paper is. 1 inch margins on the top and bottom and sides. Indent the first word in every paragraph, 1/2 inch. Use Times New Roman size 12. Double space the entire paper. No single line spacing, double space. And the text left and right. Now, of these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bullets, um, the most important one that I care about is the nipple spacing. Uh, I don't care if you use Times New Roman size 12. I just need you to use a font type that is legible. So don't use cursive or something like that. If you want to use Arial or Times New Roman, it's totally up to you. As long as I can read it, there's no big deal. Um, Indenting, again, it's not the end of the world, but if you want to indent your first paragraph, that would be fantastic. But ultimately, um, I I I want to discuss APA because of the citations. That's the most important aspect for me. It's not the type of font that you use or even the font size. It's doing citations. It's including citations. So we have right here this the topic here, in-text citations, and this right here, that's an example of an in-text citation where you have in parentheses the last name of an author, comma, and then it's the year of publication. And the reason that we include in-text citations is because when we read something from anywhere, the internet, a book, whatever, and we take something from what we've read, we take some new information and we include it in our own paper, you don't want to steal. So an in-text citation gives credit to where credit is due. So if you learned something new after reading a book, and it said, I don't know, as an example, 100 people were in car accidents last month. That was new information to you. If you include that in your paper, you didn't know that. You learned it from somewhere else. And that's where you would include a citation saying, yeah, this is where I found this information about 100 accidents. So what I'm going to show you now, I'm going to close this, but feel free to read that. I'm going to show you the sample APA paper. So this was a paper that I was involved in writing quite a few years ago within a team, like back in 2012. And so here, let's make this thing. Okay, so right here, that's an example of an citation. You can see the paragraph, right? Then you can see Gallo in parentheses, comma, 2011. That's an in-text citation. So Gallo would have been an author. 2011 was the year that he published the information. And so what this in-text citation is doing is it's telling the reader, us, that this particular sentence right before the citation can be attributed to Gallo in his article or book from 2011. So the team that I was involved in that wrote this paper, one of us on the team wrote this first paragraph. And when we wrote the paragraph, whoever wrote it, I could have been me or it could have been someone else. But for the sake of argument, let's assume it was me. I would have picked up an article or a book by Gallo, and as part of the research, I would have read in Gallo's book that Branson is commonly known to promote and offer a great number of vacation days, flex time, and paid time off than other companies. So I would have learned that information. Then I wanted to take that information and apply it in my paper. And so that's what I did. And when I put it in there, I made sure that I thanked Gallo for giving me that information. So that's what an in-text citation looks like. And really, the only time that it would look a little bit different is if you were doing a direct quote, Gallo, for example, if that sentence that is highlighted right now, if that was a direct quote, word for word, out of Gallo's book, then first of all, you have quotations at the beginning and the end of the sentence. But secondly, you have to add page number within the citation. So it would be Gallo and then 2011, and then you would put comma, number 15 or whatever, if it's a direct word for word. If it's not word for word and you're taking the information and putting it into your own words, then you don't need page number. But if you are taking it word for word, you have to include a page number. So that's an in-text citation. And as you can see in this paper, pretty well every single paragraph has, I just move words around. Every single paragraph has at least one in-text citation. There it is as well, right? So every paragraph has one. Now, you don't need to have a citation in every paragraph. Um, but when you're writing a paper is 3 pages long, you want to have multiple citations. You don't want to have just one. So it's not a bad idea as a rule to, at least in the back of your minds, to think of, one citation per paragraph. You can have even more than one citation in a paragraph. The flip side is you don't want to have too many citations in a paragraph because then suddenly it's not your own writing. So if you had a paragraph that was only 6 sentences and you had 3 citations in that paragraph, there wouldn't be a lot of your own writing. You would just kind of be repeating what other authors would have said. So, rule of thumb, yeah, absolutely, you can have one, two, depending on the size of your paragraph and how many sentences there are. Suppose you could have 3 citations. Um, but the point being that the the request to include in-text citations is really about critical thinking. It's making sure that you are reading the class text as well as the other reading materials, including watching videos, et cetera, that you're reading it, that you're understanding it, and that you're able to incorporate this newfound information and newfound knowledge into your assignments. Because if we didn't ask, if I didn't ask for this, and I simply said all of your assignments are just right based on what you feel and what you think, then there's not a lot of critical thinking involved. But when I ask you to read a chapter, think about the information, then take that information, that new information that you've learned, apply it to what you already know from your own life, and mix the two together and then produce something, that's when you have great critical thinking. So that's what in-text citations look like. And if we scroll down to the very bottom, we're going to learn what references are. The very last page of a paper should have your references. And the references, as you can see, they're alphabetical, and they take the materials that you have used to produce your paper and they list them alphabetically. And you include the title, of the article or the Google site, or, wherever you found the information. If you are using the internet, then you will see a lot of the word retrieved. This, where's another one here? Retrieved, right? So when you're taking information from the internet, that's how you do it. You list the author's name's last name, uh, and year of publication, and then the name of the article, and then retrieved on October 12, and then you put the link of where you actually found the information. So references go at the end of your paper, listing all the authors and the sources where you found the information. In-text citations are found in text, in the content of your paper, built into your writing. That's the difference. Okay. A lot of students mix that up. They think references are the same thing as in-text citations. It's not. In-text citations are found within the paper. References are found at the very end of the paper. Okay. So it's very, very important to follow that. So I'm going to close that. Right. So that's APA. And there's your sample paper. I'm going to back to week one. And the very last one here is this assignment grading rubric. I'll open it up. And there we go. Oh, it's a little small. So you can see, this is what I use as a guide. Excellent, anywhere between 80 and 100%. Now, the thing is that I rarely give an A plus, very, very rarely, and an A plus is 90 to 100%, and that means perfection. Like there's nothing wrong. There's no there's no spelling error anywhere. I mean perfection. So it's very, very rare that I give 90s. And that means, generally speaking, the highest would fall in the 80 to 90 range, okay, which would be considered excellent. Then you have good, you've got fair, you've got poor, right? And you have the criteria of understanding the situation, theory, application, analysis, and presentation. So if you take a look at this information, um, read it through, and of course, pay very close attention to the instructions for each assignment, um, and, and then you'll do well. Uh, and if you don't understand something, reach out to me. And if you don't understand why you got a particular grade, reach out to me. I do provide comments, and through those comments, you should be able to understand why you got the grade you did. But if you're unclear, uh, again, reach out to me. Okay. So that's the rubric. Okay. So that's week one, right? Introductions, course outline, Truth and Reconciliation 94 calls to action, the APA and the assignment grading rubric. And then you go to week two and you have this. And you go to week three and you have that. And week four and week five, et cetera, et cetera. So what I strongly suggest is part of the issues, or one of the issues that students run into is just navigating. And they'll reach out to me and go, I don't know where the instructions are. How do I write this reflection? So number one, have the course outline. Read the course outline. Look at the course schedule. Know what's in week one, what's in week two, what's in week three. Okay. The second thing, come to this page and take some time just exploring. So look at each file, look at each of the documents, open them up, read them, right? Your very first assignment is not due until February. That's week five, and you will find an assignment and the instructions in week five. So, but you can still look at week two, look at the links, week three, the readings, week four, again, readings and the surveys that you're supposed to complete, not submit until the end of the course. And finally, week five, right? You open up week five. Oh, here it is. Here's the very first assignment, reflection one. And if you click it, this is where the instructions are. And it tells you at the top when it's due. So it tells you the instructions to follow. And then, of course, you submit. As you can see, no one has submitted anything. It says zero. It's normal. It's not due until the first week of February. So that's how you do it. You take some time and you navigate. And you click on each tile and you read what's in there, make sure you're not going to miss anything, you're not going to miss any deadlines, et cetera, et cetera. Navigating and being comfortable in here, knowing your deadlines is really half the battle. Yeah, you got to read things for sure, and you have to write. But if you're not comfortable moving in and out, then you're going to push yourself into a panic, and we don't want that. If you ever run into a link that isn't working, please let me know, and I'll take care of that. Uh, Apart from that, um, that was the purpose of today's thing. It's all about um, navigating and navigating within the software and making sure that you take a look at the course outline, that you take a look at the deadlines, that you can start working in advance of those deadlines and not wait until the very last minute. And and that's essentially it. And of course to introduce myself and let you know that I'm available really 7 days a week. Um, and I think that's pretty much it. So just as a reminder, there's text. It is required. You have to have it because it's in your papers. You are supposed to be applying the information as well as information from other course materials, and I'm going to be looking for that. So if you submit an assignment and you don't talk about our shared future, which is the class textbook, I will be asking, where is this information? Um, so get copy of the class textbook if you don't already have it, and start reading it and read it incrementally. It's not like you need to read the whole thing in one night. If you look back at the course schedule, I think in week one, it asks for you to read 7 pages. Like it's not very much, right? And then as we progress in the course, you're asked to read a little more. But if every week you read some of that textbook, then you won't be in that run this week closer to the very first assignment. So there we have it. I think you're going to learn a lot from this course. We have typically in this course, we have somewhere close to 50 students, 40 to 50 students. So it's a large class. Um, and, um, and, you're going to learn, hopefully, you're going to learn a lot of new information about the history of Canada, which has not been taught very well in this country. And I'm an example of that. When I grew in Manitoba, uh, my education did not involve talking about uh, residential schools and the 60s scoop um, and unmarked graves. There was no discussion of that at all. So we're getting better. It's getting better, and it's in part, small part, due to courses like this that I hope will really open up your eyes insofar as colonialism and what the Canadian government did so many years ago, and reconciliation is um, a long-term action. Um, this is not something that's going to happen overnight or even over years. I mean, it's going to take a very long time if we ever get there in full. So I think based on the types of readings, the videos, some of it is quite sensitive, and there may be some of you in the course that may be triggered by that. And please reach out to me. For whatever reason you can't watch something or can't read something, please let me know. Um, and um, and you can reach out to the university as well if through student support services if there's anything that you need from them based on the materials within this course. Um, but it has proven with past students to be a very large eye opener insofar as the history of this country and what the government did to Indigenous peoples. And I really hope that you dive deep and delve deep into the materials and a lot of personal thought. So I don't want to take up any more of your time. It was nice meeting all of you, and uh, please, take the necessary time to explore the course, go through each of the weeks, look at the materials, write down those deadlines, make sure you meet the deadlines, and I think you'll have a fantastic time over the next couple of months. So it was my pleasure reaching out to all of you today. And as I said, if you ever have any questions whatsoever, feel free to reach out to me and I'll get back to you very, very quickly and we'll figure things out. All right. So I'm going to stop sharing the course right now. And I hope you all have a fantastic weekend and wish you the best with the course. Thanks. And